Hi there. Uh, it's iBookBinding's live stream, and today I'm alone with Friedrich Sommerfeldt. Hi, Friedrich. Yeah. Well, there is still some chance that Pavel will join us, but he has some visa issues. Not visa issues, but as as where people from not as privileged part of world as some others. Sometimes we have to do that thing that is called visa run. At least if you are a Russian living in Serbia, as Pavel is, and he is allowed to stay in Serbia for 30 days. He doesn't need a visa, but once a month he has to leave the country and enter it again, like 5 minutes later, to get 30 more days to stay in the country. And yeah, that's called visa run, and that's what he was supposed to do today, and there were some delays on his way, unfortunately. So where I don't know if he'll be able to join us today. Hopefully he will be able, but we're not sure. We'll see. And anyway, well, I guess Friedrich is our main speaker today anyway, so that's that. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I think we have several topics to discuss. Starting with that collection of wooden type you had to work with a while ago, and also then we will probably switch to some old engravings. And one of them I also ask you to look for some clues for, and yeah, and I have some more things to show. I wanted to show them to Pavel as well. So maybe if he will join us, I'll keep them for the next time, until the next time. But we'll see how it goes. Do you have any preference for? Well, I plan to show the photos of the type we're going to discuss. But do you have any preference for the order, or can you tell me like type number one, type number two, or whatever? Slideshow. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's see what I can do. Yeah, we have some stuff here, and let me see. That's the wrong one. Just will give me a moment. So it doesn't want to do slideshow. How do I start it? Just go speech will become manually. Yeah, we'll see. Um, so anyway, there was this collection, I guess you can say collection of wooden type that I got recently, and there were some quite beautiful examples, samples, specimen. I think, yeah, specimen. That's the word I'm looking for there, and Yeah, I think I'll try using some of this type maybe at some moment to experiment with printing, because that's something I wanted to do for a while now. I don't have I have almost no experience with with traditional printing. I have some experience with using InDesign and other digital tools for imposition. How it's called in English? I'm not sure about it. I know the Russian words for that, but not the English one. But anyway, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's another interesting topic to talk about. That's true, by the way. In the in the Russian language, many of the terms related to bookbinding or to printing or to some other arts and sciences are coming from either German or Dutch or French. So yeah, that's that's quite impressive how the languages mix, and it's quite impressive how people who are trying to we're going on a tangent here, but it's a fun thing. It's quite impressive how people who try to to fight for the purity of the language uh, choose some of the words which are so Russian language is a Slavic language. So supposedly, if you want to fight for the purity of the Russian language, you should choose predominantly Slavic words, Slavic roots. But then there is Turk contribution, and from Mongol times there are lots of roots coming from elsewhere. There are Greek contributions, whatever, and also later there are German, French, Dutch contributions, and some other as well. And there is a joke among the computer people in Russia that it's not proper to use the word firewall when you are talking about computer systems. You have to use the word brandmauer. Because if you go to firefighting, from where it comes from, the word brandmauer came to Russian language like 300 years ago, and the word firewall came 30 years ago. um, okay, whatever. Um, can't hear Friedrich. Okay, we have sound problems on Friedrich's side again. I'll try to fix it right now. Friedrich, could you please say something? Nope, not working. Yeah, it's okay on your end. It's not okay on my end. Again, we had this issue already before. Um, yeah. Okay, yeah. It should be fine now. It should be fine now. Okay, I found the culprit. Okay. Thank you, Christopher, for mentioning that. Last time it was 20 minutes already where we were talking without audio from Pavel's side. That somebody brought it to our attention that we have issues with the sound. So
crazy.
much better this time. So
I'll probably check it.
I probably should stop rambling, and we probably should start talking about the main topic of our today's live stream. I'll make another delay and ask our viewers to comment if they have any questions, and please tell us from where are you joining us, which country, which city. That's always interesting and fun to see. From where people are watching the live stream. And so, yeah, wooden type. I got something like 20-ish, 22, 25 specimen of wooden type. Different sorts of types, something like that, no?
I think almost 30.
Almost 30. But yeah, some of them are... Some of them were very incomplete, like super incomplete.
Yeah, very incomplete. Yes, that's true.
Like having only 2 or 3 or 7 letters
Yeah.
remaining, something like that. Yeah, 28 different
Mhm.
variations, and they all came from the same collection. And I asked, and most of the collection was already sold months before I got these ones, and I'd like to have more, but anyway, that's what I got, and that's what I had money for. I plan to. I have already sold some of that, and well, thanks to Friedrich for helping me. Not helping, but yeah, doing the main job and identifying that, and writing some descriptions and stuff. As I mentioned, I hope to use at least some of it to experiment a bit, because I really want to try printing something with not
Mm.
plastic, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, most of it will be sold in the upcoming months. I continue to add it to Etsy's to our shop on Etsy and to our standalone shop. So yeah, so Christopher Crone, Washington, New Hampshire, United States. Nice to have you here, and thanks again for mentioning that Friedrich didn't have any sound. Um, so I'll just we'll switch between some photos, and Friedrich probably will talk about his process of finding the source
Mhm.
of the type. I guess, yeah, I wouldn't steal any thunder from you, because it's your story here.
Yeah, so basically it started with you sending me roughly these pictures and some more with a little bit more detailed shots and some measurement shots, but not of all the typefaces. And I basically started, well, from the assumption that you bought them in the UK.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, could you leave that picture in? That's a good one because that was my first
Which
um
one?
say the one before or two before that with the type height.
Yeah. Okay. This one probably.
No, the one where you had the it on the side
Okay.
with the measurement of
Let's.
2 point
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 Okay.
because that was the first hint for me to
Oh yeah, the hate of the
yeah,
type. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first hint for me to eliminate a lot of type foundries that I could look at because the type height is different in different countries. And for example, in the UK and the US and some other, I think, former colonies of the United Kingdom, the type height stands at 23.3 millimeters,
Yeah.
which is basically the height present here. And I think in Germany, for example, it would be like 23.5 or maybe even 24.5 or so. I don't know it off the top of my head. I had to consult a list of the different type heights every single time. But just to know there are different measurements and different measurements in different countries.
Yeah, which
And
I,
so I
I, I will I will be working as a complete newbie here, because well, I'm
Mhm.
obviously complete
Yeah.
newbie, which makes these type completely incompatible between each other. So you have to, you know, add some contraptions to make them
Yes.
compatible, to use type from different heights together, if you want to do that for some reason.
exactly. Yeah, you would have to like underlay it with several sheets of paper or a thin sheet of cardboard or so. And the or you have to print the typefaces after one another. Like first to set up with, for example, a UK typeface, and then
Mm-hmm.
you could switch to a German or French typeface.
Mm-hmm.
But using them together is would be pretty complicated. I mean, you could also um, like make the German ones smaller,
Mm-hmm.
but that would be a lot of work to do. But I mean, you had some
And smaller,
typefaces where,
you mean by grinding
yeah, by
the body?
grinding some of the bottom off,
But
for
it's sort of
example.
damaging the type. It's I not damaging, but you won't be
I'm,
able
I mean,
to use it again
yes,
with German type then.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I mean, it's if you have like two, three, or four letters,
Yeah.
just like maybe big letters that
Yeah.
just look good,
Yeah.
you could say like, okay, let me do that because
Yeah.
I will never have a
Well,
large amount of German type.
probably if you live in England and you have several letters that came from Germany and you will always use it
Yeah,
in England, then
yeah.
obviously why not? Okay.
And you had also some typefaces where there were sections cut off
Yeah. Let me
because
check if I
that
can
was like,
find.
yeah, that's also not uncommon to alter some or single letters or so for a special print that you made.
Yeah.
I guess it's pretty hard to reconstruct why certain things or in which cases certain letters were altered.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started from the type height and tried to, at first, I tried to just um, Google for UK type wooden typeface, and then try to get like some specifics about the typefaces. Like these here are sans serif typefaces.
So
Others,
as you mentioned,
oh yeah,
you can see
yes,
them over here. Well, they are obviously put upside down, V and T, but still, that's an example of these cutouts. And well, there are more of them around. So there is R and A, and then two more V's, and there was a W over there somewhere also. Yeah.
yeah, for example, in this case, it could be for either putting an A and a V or A and W next to each other so that you don't have like such a large space in between them, and the spacing between the single letters in a word is more even, which is when you make it digitally, you can adjust it the way you want. But with wooden type or with lead type, it's rather hard to have an even spacing. And especially with large typefaces, you want to have the spacing a little bit less,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit smaller, as with typefaces in a smaller size for like just reading in a book or so. You can go with a larger spaces between the letters.
Wouldn't it make
Um,
the layout more unstable when you use letters which are which have cutouts because you have less surface on the sides to keep it all together and maybe more opportunity for the letters to um, how you call it not shift but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stray
I know
away
what you
from the
mean.
vertical alignment.
I guess theoretically, yes, would make it more unstable, but I guess what you could do, like you see this gap between the two A's, and if you have two letters and you have like a pretty big gap between them, you could put like little pieces of lead or wood in it to stabilize the
Hmm.
whole construction that you had in a certain case
Hmm.
to make it more stable. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, you would always test it. you make like some test prints and see if everything is stable, and then you see, okay, now I can go and it works fine. Nothing's happening.
And
Yeah, nothing is shifting. So
with the LED type, if you want to do such
Mhm.
a cutouts, you just file it away, or how what's the general approach there?
Yeah, you
Because
would file it
obviously
away.
you can just use a saw for wooden type, but probably not
Yeah.
for the LED type. However,
No,
you can use a
for that you would just use a file and just file it away.
okay.
Just grind it. I mean, you barely do it. I guess there are cases where you could do it, and I also saw some examples of this being done
Yeah.
before, but I guess just special cases, and over time most typefaces came with the with like letters that had this functionality basically built in, with
Okay.
like
So
overshoots
they're
with the
cast already
W.
in a way that allows you to.
Yes, yes, exactly. For
I
example,
have a lot of
one.
LED type as well, so we can probably discuss it in one of the future live streams because
For example, yeah. And so yeah, I started by Googling just for UK wood typefaces and try to find similarities.
Mhm.
And I started to find some, but not really, sometimes like a modern interpretation of a certain typeface or so. And I had the sus suspicion or
Yeah.
the, well, I thought that maybe these wood types um, are coming from a time where it was not yet common to give typefaces names,
Mhm.
but rather numbers, which would make finding them pretty difficult.
Okay.
And as it turned out, I was right. Every one of these typefaces basically just is a number in a catalog. And how I found the matching catalog was by, or the specimen book rather. I found a
It's a bit of
website.
it feels a bit like a bit of a miracle to me because well you obviously had a range of type and you, you probably can guess that they may come from one source but maybe not and
I was totally lucky that that they are basically all from the same foundry. I think they are like a couple of letters that are like a little bit more in a black letter
yeah
style that are maybe from a different type foundry, and I
okay
couldn't locate those. Like
yeah
there's one black letter style B that I couldn't locate. And I also looked through some German books for that one, and I didn't find the exact one, but it's just a single letter. So I was like, okay, doesn't mean too much now. But yeah, that I found this one. Like I started by like I found this website, Typographica Library,
mm-hmm.
or like Typographica Library, and there's a just a collection of, I don't know how many, just a large amount, basically maybe more than 100 links to different type specimen books. And I just went through a bunch of um, British specimen books with the focus on those using wood type. I mean, there's also was also the possibility that these typefaces would come from a type foundry that produces both lead type and wood type.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was rather lucky that the type foundry these are from is the little, so with the letter D in the beginning, so it was pretty early in the alphabet. So I didn't have to go through the whole alphabet to find like a type foundry at like Z.
Yeah.
So that was pretty lucky. And yeah, so I located a specimen by the type foundry The Little. If I remember correctly, they're from London even, or where from
No,
London?
I think they are from. I think they were from some other place. I'm not
Could
sure right
also
now.
be. Yeah, but they were. Oh, here is York. They're from
York.
York.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, they were specialized in making wood letters,
Mm-hmm.
and especially for posters for like theaters, stuff like that. So they were focusing on making really large typefaces. And in the specimen, they say like we make everything from like I think like 5 line or 4 line, which is basically the size on display right now, up to I think 25 inches. I don't want to lie. Let me check.
25 inches.
Uh,
It's like
it's huge. Like some typefaces, they say like, yeah, we like here's up to 12 inches. Yeah, and here's one like
tw-
I'm looking at the specimen right now.
25 inches
And
is,
here's
is is like 65 centimeters.
it's large. It's really, really large. It's for
It's
big posters.
it's like a newborn kid in size.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So and
I can
yeah,
I can read a bit of history notes about the little type, and
yeah.
that's probably you sent me, or I found. I'm not sure. So from the type archive in 1888, so almost 150 years ago, Robert the Little set up his wood letter factory in York and became the largest and most innovative manufacturer of wood type in the country, in the United Kingdom. His market was primarily large sizes of poster types, as you mentioned just now, used in the theater, the countryside, and politics. Politics is you need to shout when you are doing politics, obviously.
Yeah.
Then from David Shields, Robert James the Little was grandson of the founder, um, was the last owner and operator of the last wood type manufacturer in England. So they were the last ones. That's that. I'll read a comment and I'll return to you. I'll in a moment. So Han Fleet, hello from
Mhm.
Lancaster, UK, our regular viewer. Hi Han, nice to have you here. I may have missed this earlier, but do you know what type is a type of wood they are? Was a certain type of wood preferred for use? That's a good question. Do you have an answer for that question?
I don't, for several reasons. I never laid hand on any of these letters, so I just
Yeah, but yeah,
see
not
images.
about these letters. Not about. I also cannot say
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which specimen of wood was used to make this type. I want to try, finding out what it could have been, but maybe you have some knowledge about other wood
Not,
type.
not really. The only thing that I know is that like harder
Hardwood, yeah,
woods are preferred.
like oak.
So you wouldn't have like pine tree wood or so. That's way too soft and more like no, I can't really tell. I guess that's actually pretty basic information, but it never stuck with me
That's a
to
good
remember
question
that.
to remember for one of our next live streams. Let's discuss it
Yeah,
next time.
yeah,
Thank you, Han, for this question. We can also invite some other people who know about printing, so they can
yeah.
they can chip in then.
Maybe maybe some professionals and not just a dude who knows his way around the internet. And I
Well,
mean,
you definitely know much more about printing than I do, so that's already much better.
yeah, and I guess what also helps is just mm, understanding a little bit about typefaces so that you see small differences. Like, for example, with sans serif typefaces, on a glance, for an outsider, all just look the same.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, I mean, maybe one is a
I've
little bit more.
I've sent you some photos, and you were like, you have a type mix there. You need to check that.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, on the first glance, I wasn't, I didn't even notice that. And when you told me, I started looking, and I was like, yeah, sure. I should have definitely noticed that before. And it's not like I obviously don't have experience as a printer myself, but it's not like I have no relevance to typefaces at all, because my father was CEO of a company that developed and develops typefaces, digital
Mm.
typefaces, Paratype. If I probably you know Paratype, it's one of the large
Well, so he's working
companies.
in a type foundry, in a modern type foundry.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
It was
still,
it was a Soviet American startup. You call it startup today, and
yeah,
they did all the sorts different all the different sorts of things. For example, there was this handheld device Newton from Apple, which was like in early 1990s, which was well before iPhones and
yeah, yeah.
palms and all of that stuff. It was done, and they did handwriting recognition for Apple. And their handwriting recognition systems are used by USPS now, still used. So that was one
Mhm.
of the things they did, and then they did 3D modeling, and they continue to do that. And also the company that does writing recognition, it still exists. They split in three parts. So one company does recognition, one company does typefaces, which is Paratype, and the last company, which retained the original name, continues to do 3D things, 3D
Mhm.
modeling, and all of that stuff. So yeah, I have some knowledge about it, but definitely
Yeah,
not enough.
yeah.
So
So, it, I guess like basically just what helps is just looking at typefaces and noticing differences. And over time, I mean, of course, I didn't see every single detail just at a glance, but by comparing certain typefaces, you notice that there's like a maybe the some are a little bit more condensed, others are a little bit wider. You have different details like how certain lines connect, stuff like this. It's hard to, I guess, pretty hard to give examples. I mean, the typeface on display right now, like the one in the center,
yeah.
has a pretty unique style, one that I also can't really put a finger on. Like there are like some elements that you would find like in some sort of Tuscan, so-called Tuscan typefaces. But there's a similar one that is referred to as runic, and but it's not really, it's just like a style for one single typeface basically, and not a broader trend. I guess with a lot of how they are called, at least today, display typefaces who have a more specialized style, a more unique style. I mean, you can see trends like all the brush styles, like
Mm-hmm.
as if they were written with a brush.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there you can say, can describe it based on the tool for writing them. But then there are like styles that are just really unique, and it's just okay, it's a display typeface. And that's it, basically. I mean, you can say, okay, here are like some sort of serifs, and but it's hard Googling stuff like this because you're either really um like really broad, just like okay, there are like basically every second typeface has serifs, so you need a little bit more specificity in describing them if you don't have a name. And with some typefaces that I tried to classify, I asked around on Reddit,
Hmm.
and some people there just sent me a link to a digitized version. I was like,
Nice.
nice, cool, doesn't help in classifying them.
Yeah.
But okay, you just know this typeface and a modern or a modern rendition of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but basically after I located the the specimen by the little, in which almost all of the typefaces were present, I just tried to find out which number so every single typeface is.
Hmm.
And it's pretty tricky with the little because, as I mentioned before, they just almost all of them just have as a name just a number,
And
and
also,
it
you
goes
you
up.
you sent me the
Mhm.
catalog, and it seems that in many cases they are not sorted, sort of. So there are
Yes.
numbers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're not how you say it. They're not aggregated by type or by style or by whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
different
I
sizes can
think
be
that,
in different parts of catalog, and yeah,
yeah. Yeah. What I think is that they were just numbered chronologically.
yeah,
Like, this is the first typeface we made. This is the second one. Oh, now we are at number 50 and we make a different style for the first one we made. Well, this is number 50, clearly. And it's really tricky because, like, right now there's a condensed typeface on display here. And that's not the only one. They have just with slight differences, even more condensed or then even compressed typefaces. And this one goes from pretty standard pretty standard style to
yeah.
really compressed, really narrow. And all of them are numbered in whatever form. Like sometimes they at a random point made a version, like an in-between version between two uh like degrees of condensedness.
Okay.
And it was really complicated because like the differences are really slight. I couldn't 100% find the exact style or exact number for every typeface we had. I tried to get as close as possible, but it's also just one specimen that we have access to. There might be more somewhere in a library or so, but not a
Yeah,
digitized version.
yeah.
And it could also very well be that the that some typefaces you bought are not present
Or are from
in
a different
this.
collection or different producer, manufacturer.
Not necessarily because, like, I guess they are almost all from the little,
Yeah.
but some are just maybe not present in this specimen, like, and just by line thickness or so, and not really like totally far off. But yeah, So that was really tricky, and then I just tried rather to work with rough descriptions of the typefaces, classifications, like I said, like sans serif typeface or condensed sans serif typeface. And another point that I also have to still do some work on and some learning on is the type sizes, because there there's wasn't really an international standard in terms of type sizes, and not even at some points, not even a national standard in terms of type sizes. So here you have like descriptions like four-line pica, which is taken from the specimen again. And what a four-line pica is, for that you have to, and I mean, just saying, like, people who are listening to this and who might be familiar with like British or American measurements would say like, well, of course I know what a pica is,
Yeah.
and I can understand what a four-line pica is. But for me, as a person who learned all of this in Germany, sometimes for the same measurements we have different names,
Okay.
and sometimes these measurements still differ, and it's hard to really translate all of this. Like, what I gathered, a pica is basically if I remember correctly right now, it's this from the up of the top of my head, um are basically 12 typographic points, which is a standard size. And in German, we would call that Cicero,
Mm-hmm.
which are 12 points. But then a typographic point can be different in each country. And these are like not point
Yeah.
the millimeter
Yeah.
measurements,
Yeah.
that these are different. And with the little, I think they say like, okay, from four-line peaker up to 25 inches. So at a certain point, they just, I guess, ditch the idea of typographic measurements and just say, just order it in inches. So then they don't even care about the measurement of typographic measurements anymore. And in some cases, you sent me pictures of typefaces that were like clearly then like 4 inches in size. And it was like, okay, I see that. Does this match up with a certain so and so many line pica
Yeah.
or not? And
Oh,
there were sizes in between, like 4.5 line. And it's like, is that the intended measurement, or is it the inches measurement? Like I couldn't say. And that's like something that I have to um become a little bit more knowledgeable about, what the differences are. And unfortunately, I just have a ruler here for the German measurements,
yeah.
not the UK measurements. So I tried to translate all of this basically by looking at my ruler. And then later I started to notice, I guess there's, because
Some
then you sent
differences.
me measurements
Yeah.
that just, yeah, you sent me
Do not fit.
measurements that didn't make sense
Yeah.
in either way, like in inches, in centimeters,
Yeah.
or in like Cicero, in like
Yeah.
in a German
Yeah.
measurement. So there is a fourth version, which would be the UK measurement, that is slightly off. And it's like, yeah, it was a little bit complicated for me. Some measurements perfectly matched with Cicero, so we had them in the shop with the Cicero or inches measurement. that was the best I could do for now. And maybe next time I'll manage to find a more correct measurement. But I guess being close to something that people understand, okay, it's about this size, and just have an idea. Because I guess like having a wooden typeface that you use on its own is still fine, and you can work around it. It's like um yeah, just having a basic idea is helpful. But of course, I would be happy to get feedback on this, how people from other countries perceive these measurements, because I'm pretty much for now fixed on my experience with the German, and I think based on the French measurements.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Um,
If any of our viewers have any ideas, recommendations, please leave a comment below. If you're watching this in the future, the recorded version,
yeah.
also please leave a comment, and Friedrich will see it, or I will send it to Friedrich. And anyway, it's interesting for me to me as well. I also wanted to, if we talk about measurements, rulers, typographic rulers, or whatever, I also wanted to mention that I've been using this, I think in English it's called calipers or dial calipers, whatever. In Russian, they call it Stangenzirkel. So also very Russian.
Yeah. Yeah. The good old Stangenzirkel. We that's really funny, because in German we call it something completely different. We call it a Messschieber. At least that's how I learned it.
Okay.
It's like measuring. Schieben is basically like pushing, because like
Okay.
you
Yeah,
push
yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah,
slider around.
yeah,
That's why it's called like a Messschieber.
yeah.
And I guess maybe in different fields it might even have different names.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens too.
Yeah, it may have have the source in that the standard calipers. You mean the two-leg thing is called Zirkel in
Yeah.
Russian. So and then there is Stangenzirkel, because, well, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe in German language it was called this way 200 years ago or something, and it remained in
Yeah,
Russian.
that could be. I mean, we also call the with the angle
Yeah,
a circle.
yeah,
So that makes sense.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's that. And also, I wanted to say something else. Yeah, I don't have a typographic ruler at all, and
Yeah.
so there is another question, and there are some more viewers now, which makes us happy. Obviously, we're good talking to each other. It's fun as it is, but yeah, if you have any
It's for the
questions,
future.
if you have any comments, if you would like to share from where you are joining us to watch this live stream, we're always glad to see these comments, and it's always fun and interesting to see people from different countries and regions joining us. And Hanfleet also had another question. Question. If you could design your own typeface, what would it be like, and would there be any design problems with it?
So I made one typeface by now. So I already made one, which is just a pixel typeface, and it's
Okay.
a rendition of or an adaptation of a typeface by Don't Leave Me Brain, I think Gaudi.
Okay.
I don't want to lie. And it's a typeface used on the Magic the Gathering cards,
Okay. Interesting.
for titling the on the older cards,
Yeah.
but also in the video game
So
series The
you're
Elder
also into Magic
Scrolls.
the Gathering.
I'm not really into Magic the Gathering. I'm into The Elder Scrolls,
Okay.
but it's the basically the title
Yeah.
typeface that always says like the Elder Scrolls number so and so. Um, but in the modding scene for the Elder Scrolls, this typeface is known as Magic Card because it is used on the Magic cards,
Okay.
and there's like a file somewhere where it has this name, and
Interesting.
this typeface goes around under a lot of different names, and I made a pixel version of it, which I called Ashlander Pixel, which is a reference to the Elder Scrolls games.
Okay.
And so that is the typeface that I made, and style-wise issues with that are like making sure that the spacing between the letters always keeps like the pixel measurement
Mm-hmm.
and scaling the typeface up and down. So basically, I wouldn't want it to be um like random or random size differences, but rather that they keep the same pixel measurement. Basically, the smallest pixel would be that like a larger size, that one pixel would be redone with 4 pixels. It's hard to describe for me in English, but
Okay.
there are like some to keep it to keep it nice and clean. And another, I want I have a lot of ideas for different typefaces. And I guess like a common issue that I would have is basically just like the kerning, like the distance between the single letters to get that one right.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the pixel typeface, it was pretty easy because you could go with full measurements, and if it looks a little bit off, well, it's a pixel typeface. So sometimes you can't do really better. I mean, you could do better, but then you break the idea of a pixel typeface. And so yeah, with a normal typeface, I guess that's like the kerning is where it's happening, where all the problems basically arise. Because like shape-wise, style-wise, I would start by writing the typeface by hand and then make some adaptations to maybe give it a little bit more of a clean look or so. Um, but in the process of making a typeface, especially one that you would maybe want to print or use in print, would be the whole process between adjusting like some parts that are still off, then making a test print, looking at it again. And yeah, you even had an example of the little
That's what
on
I
it.
wanted. That's what I wanted to mention. That there was a hint there. In the end,
Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah, and they mention in some places, maybe in catalog or somewhere else. I saw that they mentioned that they put their mark on small a's, at least in some cases. But it was
Mm,
only, I think it was only in one typeface, and I saw it when you already found it. So, yeah,
yeah. But I mean, it was a good confirmation
yeah, 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 yeah.
in the end. So yeah. Um,
So there will be more typefaces from you in the future.
yes, in the future. Um, right now I'm on a break in terms of that, but some ideas are still present, and I'll get around to make at least a couple of typefaces eventually. It's a lot of work to get everything right. I know that.
Interesting. I don't want to design any typefaces. I understand that
No?
a lot of work comes into it, and I just maybe I think it would be fun to experiment with it, but I just understand that it will be impossible for me to to have enough time to even to play with it. So yeah, no,
Mm,
thank you. But so we have a comment from Stephanie Carpenter. If you start looking at Hamilton type, some of our specimen books have been digitized. Uh, yes, that's one of the things, and Friedrich used some of the digitized specimen books as well. So that was a
mm.
definitely a helpful source of material for. Uh, yeah, and there are some links Stephanie posted, and I probably will repost them to uh, our YouTube chat as well, so that people will see the links there. And thanks a lot for that, Stephanie. And another thing I wanted to ask, and maybe I should mention something else because I got some more comments about when I posted the announcement for our today's talk. Some of the people understood it as we still have this challenge. We need to to find out the source
Ah,
of this specimen. I'm I'm it's really tough for me to to know where it is plural, where it is singular with specimen type and all of that stuff. English is second language for me, so sorry about that.
for me
Um,
too. For me too.
and I had another comment, David Shields, who wrote one of the quotes that I read before about the little might be able to help determine the origin of your type. And there is this website, Wood Type Research, a blog or a project dedicated to
Ah,
finding sources for different wooden type or types. Again, I don't know. Sorry.
typefaces.
Typefaces. Yeah, that should be easier. I will also post this link both on Facebook and
Mm.
YouTube, so that anyone can go there and check this project, which is definitely something interesting. And yeah, and we've been talking about designing typefaces, making wooden typefaces and all of that stuff. Firstly, do you have any understanding? Was it all made by hand? Then
Um,
like 100 years ago, or was there any sort of because nowadays obviously you use CNC machines and
mm,
you do some finishing for the sharper corners by hand because there are some places where your CNC bits wouldn't be able to go to make the finer details. But was
like
it?
as far as I know, um, I mean, I guess there were different steps in history in which these technologies evolved.
Yeah.
So I cannot speak for the whole development. Of course, there was a point, I would say, where they were all made by hand. And what I know is that there was a point in time where the large typefaces or typefaces of different sizes
Yeah.
were made with a machine that basically transferred a small movement into a larger one. So you would basically draw the outer
Okay.
edges of a typeface in like a maybe on a size like 5 centimeters or so, or like 2 inches, and it will transfer to a size of um well 20 inches or so.
Mm-hmm.
You could adjust that. And that's one point, at least I think, for wooden typefaces. I guess that you had like not a saw, but like a tool that would carve into the wood
Yeah.
mechanically.
like a router or something like that.
Yeah. And the well, LED typefaces were cast.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
that's
understandable. Yeah, they were cast for a very 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 long time. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was the main idea of making metal
Yeah, yeah.
typefaces. And the other question
And
I had on my mind for quite some time already, even before we started this live stream, is copyright issues because um, uh,
Mhm.
I guess for the well, I'm pretty sure that for typefaces the same copyright rules work as for other creative works, and they are different in
Mhm.
different countries. So
Mhm.
probably, for example, it should be safe, I guess, to use or to copy typefaces which were made by the Little because they ceased operations in 1930 or something like that. But maybe not because they were bought out. So yeah, that's an interesting question.
um to answer that, I would say this would be a great topic for another live stream because I
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
to prepare a little bit of stuff because I know of a couple of examples in which you had basically rip-offs
Okay.
of certain typefaces, but between countries. So you had a typeface that was originally made in
Mm.
Germany,
Okay.
and basically a one-to-one copy was made in the United States, and there were some um uh, like some copyright issues arose in these cases, but I think if I remember correctly, nothing really followed from them because, well, the type foundries didn't really interfere with one another
Hmm.
because one only sold in Germany or in Europe and the other one in the United States,
Yeah, and also there
and
were
only
different heights. So yeah.
different heights exactly. And but I have to look into it again. And there were some cases, and I mean today it's there are cases of like almost a rip off of especially well-made typefaces, but then like 3 to 5 letters are like changed a little bit as to circumvent the lawsuit. And
Hmm.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And many such cases, but I have to look them up. But that's a good topic, I think.
Yeah, yeah, we should keep it for the future, and if you can do the research, please do, and we'll arrange a date for the future for some future moments to discuss that. And we have another answer from Stephanie Carpenter to one of my previous questions. In 1827, Darius Wells started to use the lateral router. I guess that's how it's called in English.
Mhm.
To cut wood type in a mass-produced way. Then in 1834, a pantograph started to be used. Yeah, I even know the word pantograph. So that's something. But if I absolutely forgot it in this context. So thanks again, Stephanie, for helping us out.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, and that's another question. For example, if uh, I plan to get a CNC router by the end of this year, hopefully. And
Mhm.
there are some typefaces which are missing some, for example, one or two letters, and I wanted to try,
Mhm.
doing some replacements. And it will be probably safe for a typeface that was designed and made 100 years ago. But what are the implications if you do the same for the modern typeface? That's a good question, and that's something that we can
Mhm.
discuss separately on a separate occasion. So that's that, and yeah. Do you have anything Anything else? Oh, one more thing. Yeah, one more thing that I found out a bit later, and that was a question I addressed to you, and I I think you gave me some answers, and maybe some of our viewers will be able to give more information about that. Is about the um, Stephanie Carpenter wrote, like listening to your chat this morning. Thank you, Stephanie, for staying with us. So the difference in the heights between the different specimen and within a pretty low margin, but still there are low margins of difference between German and English heights. So
Mm.
it sometimes it seems like it can be something else, and I asked you, and so that some of them were like I don't remember the heights, but some of them were
I think you
quite
had
reasonably
like
lower than the rest.
yes, exactly. You had one. I also forgot the exact measurement, but it was like maybe even like 1.2 millimeters
Yeah,
smaller
yeah,
than I think the UK one, and
yeah.
the UK one is basically the
The
smallest
lowest one
type height.
of them all. Yeah,
Others are just normally larger. And my theory was that it was smaller due to usage,
yeah.
that this typeface was used a lot, and over time it just lost a little bit. I don't know, maybe it also can be through the pressure, could be become a little bit
Okay,
compressed
okay.
or so. That would be an idea, or really just like some parts of it are um deteriorate.
I didn't think to
I don't
measure.
know.
Well, there's this question on if it
Yeah,
comes from
yeah.
pressure, then it's understandable that it probably is pretty, even spread throughout the block. But if it comes out from rubbing off some of the woods over the time. On which side will it be the most damaging? On the bottom side, or on the top side? And I didn't think to measure the difference of the height of the letters themselves on
Mm.
the wooden blocks because if they are
Well, and
different, maybe
and with
we'll have an answer. But yeah, I forgot to. I didn't think to do that.
yeah, and I mean with that also comes the question, in which way these letters were printed. If you have like long lines and like a text block basically, then letters to the on the bottom and the on the top and the bottom would be affected most, because that would be the point where cylinder would hit
Yeah.
the set type first and last,
Okay.
and the pressure of the cylinder wouldn't really be spread equally across all letters. And that is one point. Or are they just printed in single lines far between, with a lot of space in between them? Then top and bottom might be equally
Mm-hmm.
affected. And then sometimes it's just like single letters happen due to just sheer randomness. Happen to be affected more because they happened to be used more in a certain spot than others. And that's like, I know that from my time at the book bindery, that I mean a different case, but we used also some old lead typefaces for basically embossing book covers and gilding book covers. So, and lead doesn't really take the heat from a pregnant very well, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the hot foil
Yeah.
machines.
Yeah.
And some letters were still in a pretty good shape, but others started to, because like you put them in like this handle
Yeah.
and they started to bend outward.
Outside. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So and some were bent more than others because, well, these are the letters like for example capital letters
Yeah.
who tend to be at the beginning of a line.
Okay.
So they are bent more in a certain direction, and certain letters that are typical in the ending of a word were bent more likely in a different direction because,
Interesting.
well, that's how words end typically. And we had like, I guess maybe the alloy was especially or had the lowest um well, melting point basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't melt in the machine, but they got soft. So, and they had the smallest point because some older typefaces were bent really strong, although being sometimes thicker and larger than other smaller typefaces, but they could withstand the heat and the pressure better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the alloy was a little bit had a smaller melting or lower melting point. And yeah, that's usage.
Interesting. Good to know. So that was our journey, mostly Friedrich's journey to find out the to decipher the history of this specimen of wooden type, and it was, I guess, it was interesting for both of us. More work done
Mm,
by Friedrich than by me, uh, but yeah, a nice journey. And um, as I said, some of them are already sold, some of them will be sold in the future, and some of them I will probably keep, and I will continue looking for new examples, and this one is pretty beautiful.
mm,
So we have some more time maybe to talk about some of the engravings. We have like 15 minutes left until our standard 90 minutes time run, and do you want to do that?
mm. We can do that, yeah.
Okay, I will need to switch to a different folder then, and I'll stop sharing for a moment. If you can add anything about your process and just talk for a couple of minutes, that would be perfect.
Process of what now? The
The
print or
research, I don't know, whatever, whatever you'd like to talk
well,
about.
again, it started with you buying stuff
Yeah.
and not knowing its origins and just asking around like, does anyone know anything about it? Which is a good starting point. Just asking questions. Um, and yeah, it was an or it's basically a colored print of two types of printing presses. I think like one is called a two-phase, basically similar to the Gutenberg printing press, and another one is like one for copper plate printing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, we were trying to find the origin of this printing or of this oh yeah, and a composing stick was also on the print, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were trying to find out where this illustration originates from.
Yeah. So let me walk through. I got four prints in the same lot, and two of them were
Ah.
pretty. Yeah, this one is the one we discussed with Friedrich and tried to find the source for, and I'll switch through two other prints really fast, and they were much easier to find the source for, and there were titles on some of them, and so it was not as hard as What's happening? It should turn. No, it doesn't want to turn. Whatever. And so I found out the history for 3 of the prints, and the sources they came from books, and but not for the last one. Would it? Okay, something changed, and I cannot. Oh, now I can rotate. I don't know how does it happen. Okay, whatever. So here's one of
Oh
them.
God.
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah. Okay, well, I hate it. It just doesn't want to cooperate with me today. So yeah. Anyway, 4 engravings, and one of them was the one that gave us the most challenge. The one that was the most challenging, and I'll show some of the sources that we found, and new share. Let's. It changed. Yeah, so it did change. Let me see if there is the. Yeah, here is the original one, the one that I got.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah. So what we basically saw is that on your print, I mean, you also took it out of the frame to look for like maybe other markings or pieces that were hidden.
Yeah, I really
in the
didn't
frame.
want to disassemble the frame because it was framed so
but
nicely, and it was framed something like 100 years ago or something. I not 100 years ago. I think I found the information about the place that framed it and sold it before, and it had a phone number that was used from 1930s to 1960s or something like that. So it may be almost 100 years ago, but it may be like 60 years ago, whatever. That's the range. But yeah, I didn't want to do that. But in the end, I decided that we need more information. Unfortunately, it didn't help really.
Yeah, it didn't have any further information. And the first, let's say, source we found that has a pretty similar depiction of a printing press was the Encyclopedia Britannica, the first edition.
So which one was that?
This one.
This one. Okay.
Yes, it's this one. Yeah, that was basically the first source we found. And of course we saw some differences and knew like in the writing it's a different style, and so we knew it wasn't taken exactly from this book.
Yeah, it was interesting to it's like these children's puzzles. Find 10 differences between these pictures.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, exactly.
in some engravings the poses of these two men were a bit different, or they have different hats, or printing press on my engraving is written in italics,
Yeah.
and or in in almost calligraphy script,
script.
and here is a block script. So there are some differences like that, and but yeah, that one was the oldest one we could find and could date, sort of. But
And I continued by I had like this fun idea of maybe checking if there were like some sort of list of sources in the Encyclopedia Britannica. and I found a digitized copy with just that, a list of authors, which cites basically all the books used in the writing of the encyclopedia. And I stumbled across, like I went through these, and some are clearly focused on biology, and others on other topics. And um, I found Owen's Dictionary of Arts and Sciences. So the illustration in the Encyclopedia Britannica is from 1771. And the other book, I have had a link here. Oh yeah, here is from, I think, 1700 and 54 or so. 54.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit later, because the usually the publishing date is when you find it in a catalog or so, refers to the first volume.
Yeah.
And it tended to happen that not all volumes were published at the same time, because um, financially speaking, the sold copies of, for example, the first edition had to bring in the money for the second volume and then the third volume.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always an ongoing project, because like also writing all the entries, making all the illustrations takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money to produce, and so they usually went by volume. And
By the
yeah,
way, by
so
the way,
the Hmm?
this image that is on our live stream right now. It's the full page from Britannica,
Yeah,
and you can see a plate number 147. So yeah, you can even find it digitized. I think this image came from the National Library of Scotland. I think so. I'm not sure. But anyway, you can find it digitized. You can find this exact page and see it for yourself. But yeah,
and what I think what is interesting about this depiction is that, if I'm not mistaken, this is the basically the version in which the single pieces, like the printing press, the composing stick, and the rolling press, are in the same order to one another.
yeah.
In other sources, we found
So
the
yeah,
composing.
to return to the engraving
Yeah,
that I have, it's all of them are located the same. There are some differences and some details. For example, on the how you call it, not the printing plate, but uh, the layout is a bit more detailed in my in the engraving that I have. But
mm,
and in Britannica it was lacking any details at all. Um, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Um, so yeah, there are only letters that supposedly refer to some correlate to some text in encyclopedia. So and here
mm.
you can see there are, well, not details but some, how you call it, the lines, anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
shadows, whatever, but the location of the parts of the engraving is the same. There is one printing press, there is a composing stick, and then there is a rolling press down below. And talking about some other examples, what do I have to show? I think, let's see, one of the next images should be, yeah, here it
This is
is.
one from the Owen. This is the I think William Owen or so. It's all mostly just
Oh,
W. Owen.
yeah,
And
yeah,
also the first edition of this book. Um, and here are some details, like you have in the back of the printing press, like some sort of cone or so, which
yeah.
is, I guess, just decoration on the machine itself. And this one, this detail is omitted from the illustration in the Encyclopedia Britannica. And on the composing stick, you can see the end of the screw, or of maybe even two screws. And you can't see those ends on in the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me to believe, because these details can also be seen on the print you bought,
Mm-hmm.
that led me to believe that maybe basically the print you have is some sort of intermediate state, because the layout is the same as in the Encyclopedia Britannica, but there are also still the details
Yeah.
from this edition. And the shadows are also different in some parts through all of them. And a detail I noticed just yesterday when I tried to
Okay.
recount
Interesting.
this, um, is not really a detail, but the question: in which fashion was your print colorized?
Okay.
And for now, we only have sources that date this print to a time between basically 1755 and 1775 or so.
Yeah.
And by that time, lithography, which was my idea of how it got colorized, didn't exist yet. Like the stone printing technique that was only developed in 1798 in
Mm-hmm.
Germany by Senefelder. And 3 years later, in 1801, it was introduced to the UK. And it only got to or found commercial use in 1820,
Mm-hmm.
or around 1820. So theoretically, it could be um, maybe like someone had
Hand
this
painted, maybe.
print. That's my idea. If you look at the table of the rolling press,
Yeah.
you can see like brush strokes, or
Yeah.
on the handle on the side. You can also see that it's not completely colored, and where new color was added to the brush, on the lower part of the
Yeah.
handle.
On the lower part.
Like the tip of the
Yeah.
handle isn't painted in, it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
white.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
So
And
and it also.
when there is
Hmm?
the corner of the handle where
Yeah.
my mouse is and the part is brushed and the tip of the corner is not painted. So yeah, yeah, probably it was hand painted with a brush or something like that. But for which reason? To to have it framed and used separately, or when it was used in a book or whatever. For this, we
I'm not.
don't have an answer, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, we also don't have an answer if it was used in a book at all,
Yeah,
because on the sides, when you took it out of the frame, you didn't have any markings whatsoever
yeah,
suggesting that it was sewn into a book.
yeah, yeah,
Or maybe, I mean it could have been cut off
yeah.
to have a clean edge
Nothing printed on the
afterwards.
backside, so it was definitely not an integral part of the book, not one of the pages. But
I mean the way like plates like these would have been added is with nothing on the backside.
yeah,
It's if you go through the Britannica, or the book by Owen, the dictionary, it's also just always just one side in the plates. Um But
Unfortunately, paper also didn't bring any clues because
yeah,
it's late paper, but late paper was made then. It is made today, and there were no watermarks whatsoever, so no clues there.
and I think it might have been just a single sheet print, because there's no information that this was taken or that this is plate number so and so, which would suggest that it's part of a book
Yeah,
with several plates. But and maybe it was from a book where such information just wasn't added, or it's just a single print. And I mean, it's not, I guess, not too uncommon, especially using like illustrations from your craft. I mean, that would require me or us to know in which way maybe like some sort of side hustle or so, or like some little side offerings were common, in which time for maybe printers or booksellers to have in store. Like, did they sell single sheet prints for people to maybe hand paint? Did they hand paint them themselves? Or a buyer maybe hand decided to hand paint it?
yeah, or paid for it.
Or
Who knows?
yeah, or pay for it. That's all, like, these are all informations that we don't really have.
Yeah, lots of questions.
Um,
We have
yeah,
at
lots
least
of
some
questions.
answers, at least some references, but yeah,
Yeah,
we weren't able to find this exact version of the engraving with the same script, with same type, and yeah, it's still a bit of a
yeah,
mystery. I'm trying
and
to.
also like, hmm?
Sorry. Yeah, please talk.
Yeah, just another detail that I found for at least trying to date this print, because I mean, it would make sense for it to I guess would make sense for it to be to have been printed relatively close to the time of the Encyclopedia Britannica and the n new and complete dictionary of arts and sciences.
Hmm.
Because the with the second edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, they used a different illustration. So they dipped this one just a couple of years later.
Hmm.
So maybe it didn't found any use in other books after that time, and was just like, maybe there were. I found a different book which also yesterday, which is also could be dated between the two in 1765, which uses a smaller version again of the same basic layout of the printing press illustration, but it's just again a different version. So there was like a time in which this one was used a lot, and then I guess later it wasn't. So that's for dating. And another part, which would suggest the latest point at which it could have been printed, is the long S in the word press. Um, because I think it, like, the word the long S letter was abandoned, I think between 1810 and 1820 in the UK.
Yeah.
I looked
I also
that
got
up.
some comments from other people as well that starting with the beginning of the 19th century, they started phasing out the long S from type
Yeah,
foundries and almost stopped using it in printing. Uh, a couple of decades later or something like that.
That to me like basically suggests like, okay, there we can see like the latest point at which this print could have been made.
Yeah.
I mean, there still might have been exceptions later, but I guess it would make sense that it was printed before that. So we have like a time frame of roughly 50 years in which this print could have been made. But not a second version that looks exactly like this one. Sadly, it's a little bit frustrating. Not gonna lie, but was also an interesting deep dive into this topic and just finding new questions, finding new leads.
That's what we do. That's one of
Yeah,
my
that's
my
what we do.
favorite.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. When I buy some vintage or antique item, I'm always trying to to find some leads to marginalia on in books is something
Mm.
I always love. And yeah, I'm just trying to find this link because somebody else shared with me a link to a project that identifies uh, engravings, instances of wooden press appearing in engravings. So there is a project dedicated
Ah,
to
yeah.
that, a sort of database. I cannot find it right now, but I think if you Google it, you'll find it. Because I obviously cannot post the link right now. And I was recommended to reach out to the person who is working on this project. I didn't do that because, well, yeah, obviously all of us are busy and sometimes you just
Hmm.
forget or something. But yeah, that was an interesting dive into the history of wooden presses, engravings, printing, Encyclopedia Britannica all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really something. What I also found that like maybe the like the illustration in the a new and complete dictionary of arts and sciences from 1754
Yeah.
was for now the oldest version of this illustration that we could find. And then I stumbled into the realm of who was the illustrator
Okay.
for that. And it was like the cartographer of the British king at the time.
Okay.
And there was this whole story of him uh, ending up broke and having to sell basically everything, and was like, okay, maybe that's why this illustration could be replicated so many times,
Yeah.
because he didn't have any rights anymore. Maybe he had to sell
Well,
his
also
version.
there were so many copies of different engravings and
Yeah,
in these times, and it was like somebody did something in the Netherlands, and then French copied it, and then German copied it,
yeah,
or
yeah.
vice versa. So it's just how it was then. There were some minor differences between the this. There is this series of people dressed as in their tools of trade or something like that, and there is a person that is dressed in a printing press, and then there is a bookbinder,
Yeah.
and they were made in the Netherlands, they were made in France, they were made in Germany, I think, and probably some other countries as well. I don't remember which ones were the first ones, but yeah, they were pretty similar and copied quite a lot. And I'm sure that nobody paid no one for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, someone had a good idea, looks good, brings around the most important informations. Just let's make this one. Don't
Yeah,
even try to change it.
yeah. I'm still trying to
Um,
find this link, but yeah, July 25th. I think it probably was on Facebook. But anyway, we are almost at the end of our talk today, and I hope it was fun, educational, and interesting for our current viewers and for our future viewers. And it was definitely a lot of pleasure to me. Unfortunately, Pavel wasn't able to join us today. I'm sure he'll be upset about it because, well, it was a fun talk and something he likes a lot. The topic that he likes a lot, he just sent me a message that he got through and everything is fine with him. So at least
That's good to hear.
that's good. So some good news there. I'm almost at the date when I posted it on Facebook. So yeah, 9 comments. References and sources. No, it wasn't here. Probably it's in my email, the link. But anyway, I'm sure you can find you can Google it. This collection of depictions of printing presses in engravings. This database, and I probably should send them a message and try to find. Maybe this engraving was the first one, and the person who made an engraving, the engraving for Britannica, was copying.
This could also be the case.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Again, if anyone who watches this in the future has any ideas, any hints, please send us a message. Please post under the video. Thanks a lot, Friedrich, for joining me today. It was fun. Please check the links in the description. Please subscribe to our social accounts everywhere because we post interesting stuff and
do all the things.
You support, bookish education and book themed education sort of this way. And if you have some spare money, please check our Patreon account. The money that we get from our patrons there goes also into research and in some other work, into editing of our videos. And the more money we get, more research and fun things we can do in the future. So please support us. Pledges start with only $1, €1, or £1 per month, depending on your location. So hopefully it's something that at least some of our viewers can afford to share with us, and we'll be very grateful for that. And see you next time. As usual, we'll stay for a minute or so until the streams drop on both Facebook and Instagram. And I hope next time we'll be able to stream on Instagram as well, because today we had to change everything because we didn't have the third